Hello. The purpose of this video is to help you prepare for critical essays and to give you some advice on how you can come up with topic sentences in your exam. So for this example, I'm going to use the 2007 higher paper and focus on question number 8 with 1984 in mind. The question reads as follows. Choose a novel in which one of the main characters is not in harmony with his society. Describe this character situation and go on to discuss how it adds to your understanding of a central concern of the novel. Now, you will see that I've already highlighted this so that I can demonstrate how you can divide the question. The first part of the question is your gateway. That's the part that allows you to decide, Eureka, I have found a question that I can use because my text is relevant. And other than that, really, it is not as important, so long as you do keep it in mind, because it's highlighting a central idea. But really, it is just there to make you realise that you can answer that question. So, first part is your gateway. This means that it really is the second part of the question that is the most important. And what I'm going to suggest to you today to do is to divide it into two parts. So you'll see that I've got two parts underlined. The first part is describe the character situation. The second part, how it adds to your understanding of the central concern of the novel. By dividing it up this way, it gives you two separate ideas to concentrate on. So, for example, you should be using the first part of the question to come up with the first couple of topics in your essay and devote probably 1 or 2 paragraphs to that. Likewise, when it comes to the second part of the question, you should be developing 2 or 3 paragraphs relating to that part of the question. Now, it might be that it's not as equally weighted as that, but the chances are that you can devote 2 paragraphs to the first part, 2 paragraphs to the second part. So let's see how this works. Let's take the first part of the question. Describe the character's situation. With 1984 in mind, what we'd be trying to do is we're trying to think about what Winston Smith's situation is, and in particular, how it demonstrates that he's not in harmony with his society. So as soon as I think about that idea, what is the situation Winston's in? Why is it he's not in harmony with his society? Here's a couple of things that come to my mind. First one is that Winston's not in harmony with society because he wants to retain a sense of his self-identity. He wants to remain an individual. So that's one way that he's not in harmony with his situation. With his society. That's his situation. He wants to keep a sense of self where other people don't. Another way that he is slightly different from others, another thing that is important in his situation is that he's alone in believing that the party can actually be beaten. So those are 2 possible topics that I could focus on. Winston wants to retain a sense of self and he believes the party can be beaten. So then I can focus on topics 3 and 4. How does it add to my understanding of a central concern of the novel? So this is where you're really focusing on your themes. What are the key ideas that the book is trying to explore? Well, I could then look at the idea that really this book is all about dictatorships and the effect that dictatorships can have. So I could then focus my attention on the fact that it really is about the threat of dictatorships. And we see through Winston's situation how terrifying dictatorships can be. Then I could move on to the fact that, along with that, when a dictatorship has power, the individual becomes incredibly weak. So those could be the 2 closing topics that I would look at. So there you can see I've got, very quickly, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the topics that I'm going to look at. Now, the next point that I wanted to make is that using those topics, you don't have to actually work through from start to finish of the novel. You can feel free to use whatever is relevant. So if I return to this idea that Winston wants to retain a sense of self, I would hope that as I'm saying that, a lot of you would think, when it comes to what evidence you could use, that you could talk about the diary. That would be one of the most natural things to talk about straight away. Why he creates the diary, what he tries to write in the diary, and so on.
But then you could use anything else in the novel that carries on that idea that we see him trying to maintain a sense of self. So what else could you refer to? Well, you could talk about him having lunch with Syme, because after all, it's when he has lunch with Syme that he thinks about Newspeak, and he looks around him and he notices the fact that everyone around him just seems to be talking like they're on some kind of record and they're just repeating ideas from the party. But not only that, you actually could go all the way to the end of the novel, or towards the end of the novel, when he's in the Ministry of Love, and you see him trying to really fight against the party, and you see the fact that he clings on to this idea that to die hating them was freedom. So all those things would be relevant to that topic, Winston wanting to retain a sense of self. Equally, if we go towards my final paragraph that I wanted to mention, the idea that the individual is weak, well, for that you could talk about two extremes of the novel. You could talk about the 2 minutes hate and the fact that Winston has gone from being someone who has a bit of control, at least, even though admittedly not a lot, but he has an ability to fight against the party and control his own mind, to, in the final chapter, really seeing that he is just one of them and that he has no control over his thoughts anymore. And of course, you would want to mention the final line. So the final chapter would definitely be the focus at the end of the essay. But saying that, we have in the final paragraph two extremes, something from the beginning, something from the end. So the point I really want you to remember is roam the text. Depending on what your topic is, mention whatever is relevant. Feel free to go from start to finish in every single paragraph. You don't have to work your way through every single paragraph going through the actual text. The danger, if you do that, is that you'll end up writing just a general summary. So mention whatever event in the text, whether it be Death of the Salesman or 1984, mention whatever is relevant. I wanted to close with a final checklist. Can you make sure that in your essay you see the following? We should have keywords from the question in the introduction, your topic sentences, and the closing sentences of each paragraph. If you can do that, that will make sure that your essay is relevant to the question. But overall, what I wanted you to see is that if we use the question, it can keep you focused, and it's easier to come up with essay topics if you divide the question up this way. I hope this helps and I hope it makes sense. Please do get in touch if you'd like me to go through it with you again, but hopefully this will allow you to feel a bit more confident before the exam. And finally, good luck!